Ta-da! I am a wizard. I have figured it out. I've also not put my main screen up. This is going so well. Great start. There we go. Happy days. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to another episode of the Discussing Resilient podcast. I'm Ian Smalley. Sorry for the slight delay there. Apparently, somewhere between last night and today, my drivers apparently needed updating, and Streamlabs refuses to load, or well, at least let you stream unless they're completely updated. So, found out about 5 minutes ago. When I tried to start the stream, so sorry for being a few minutes late, but hopefully you guys can forgive me, and we can I'll skip the song even just to get straight into it. So yeah, welcome everybody to, as I said, this is the Blight Surgery, Plague Surgery, where basically we look at our Blight Lord and above members list that they can submit to our Discord, which you can see on the screen right now. And we go through them, we talk about them, give a bit of feedback, a bit of advice. Maybe we learn even something. Sometimes we found cool lists that we didn't think of, and then we're like, oh, okay, that's nice, I actually like that combo. And yeah, we basically just try and give opinions and help people build stronger Death Guard lists, really. That's really all there is to it. If you do enjoy it and you do want to consider getting your list reviewed, consider becoming a Plague Marine member. You do need to be Blight Lord and above tier to guarantee get your list seen to. Plague Marines we try and do whenever we're out of Blight Lord stuff, but I have been a bit naughty in the past 2 weekends. I've been at events. Well, not past two of the past 3 weekends I've been at events. So I'm a little behind, but we're catching up. We're catching up. We should clear all the Blight Surgery ones tonight. So. Hello everybody in the chat, how are you all doing? Good to see some people here. We've got Mr. Oliver Havelock, Travis, Great Shamia, and Mariner Merrill. I hope you guys are having a good evening. If you've been up to anything this evening, maybe with family, maybe with hobby, maybe just having a chill day. I've been painting some Jaegers for Votan here, little orange dudes. I've been trying to get them base coated so I can get ready for the second wave of Votan that is coming out. Part of that, not much I've been doing today though, part of that. Playing a bit of World of Warcraft because I'm a big nerd with Natalie. Just getting ready for the new content to drop in the next 2 weeks. But yeah, part of that, not too much. So we'll get into it. And so first up tonight, we've got Mr. Schlert. So Schlert says, hey everyone, I'm looking for some honest feedback on my list. It is intended to be competitive, so feel free to tear it apart and give me a full critique. Okay, so very quickly, people that watch this, even when we give list feedback, we tend not to try and rip someone's list entirely apart, because the thing is, there's no good me suggesting to you an entire new list than what you've already got, because one, you might not have the models, two, you might not be able to get the models because of like budget concerns and whatnot, and three, often throwing out an entire list and starting fresh constantly is a really bad way to go about getting better at your list in the game. We try to suggest small tweaks, small little changes here and there to basically make the list get stronger, and then you keep sort of iterating on top of that. So just bear that in mind when we go through. Orange Votan is the best Votan. It's a very awful colour to paint, I'm not going to lie, but I am very happy with how they come out, and I got my little orange boy there, just chilling. I'm almost got the full army done. I've got these 10 Jaegers, 5 more Berserks, and that's all of my Votan I own painted. 5 Sagitors took a while. So, Virulent Vectorum. So we've got Demon Prince with Revolting Regeneration, so that is the 5-up Feel No Pain. Really standard staple in Virulent Vectorum. Just an amazing anchor piece, a pain in the ass. Toughest loan up in the entire game, so to see him in here is no surprise. Great choice. Now we've got a Lord of Poxes. Now, not too big on the old Lord of Poxes anymore. Not been having a great time. He's okay. He's not bad by any means. Like, there's much worse things in the world. But he doesn't really add too much at the moment to list. But again, let's have a look what's going with him, potentially. That might change our opinion. And we've got a Lord of Virulence. Lord of Virulence, I ran in Death Lord's Chosen. I haven't ran him for a while. Man, did I miss that guy. The guy is really, really good. Like, being able to mark a target, give HBL drones rerolls, etc. He's a great character. Now, we've got a Mortarion in here. So we've got the double trouble, the double Mortarions. The Demon Prince with a 5-up Feel No Pain and Mortarion. 2 Toughness 12. 2-up save, 4-up invulnerable, 5-up Feel No Pain models. Incredibly annoying to shift, and in this attachment can be very strong because he has the ability to heal, he has the ability to auto-explode. So Mortarion in this attachment is pretty good. And we've got a Tallyman as well to sit on home and score us some victory points, nothing wrong with that. We've got 2 5-man Plague Marines, then we've got a Chaos Rhino. We've got a 5-man Blick of Blight Lord Terminators, Hellbrute. We've got 1 Mythic Blight Hauler, 2 Mythic Blight Hauler, a Plague Burst Crawler, 20 Poxwalkers, 10 Poxwalkers, 10 Poxwalkers. Right. So what I'm going to say here is, right now, one of the biggest best units that we have that's making us super good is Death Shroud Terminators, and we don't have any in this list. 5-man Blight Lord. So Blight Lords, to me, when you take Blight Lords, you either commit to the Blight Lord or you don't. 5 Blight Lords is not going to get much work done, even with the 4 rolls to wound with shooting. So I would honestly, straight up, be looking to swap this Blight Lord brick out for a Death Shroud unit and have them go with the LOV instead. 3 Death Shroud with a 6-inch Deep Strike is an amazing tool to have. -1 damage on a 4-wound Terminator is also just really stupid and really powerful. So that's instantly something I'd change there. Now, we've got 2 5-man Plague Marines here, so I assume one with a Lord of Virulence, one with a Lord of Poxes, 1 Bare Bones, and the idea is to sort of flip 5 onto an objective, like, flip it, and then send out another 5 to go and, like, clear it with the Lord of Poxes. Now, 5-man Plague Marines in Virulent Vectorum are actually pretty good, because 1 command point reroll all hits and wounds for shooting makes even little 5-mans swing up real hard. But because of that, you kind of want to make sure you've got the guns on them. So I would change the loadouts here. I would drop a heavy plague weapon and just go with a power fist and 1 heavy plague weapon. And I would go spewer, double plasma gun, and a blight launcher. Those little 5-mans in VV with a full reroll strat are actually pretty good and surprise me quite a bit when I run 4 5-man squads of them. So don't actually dislike them that much. They're actually pretty good units. So you don't have to commit to the whole like big 10-man super kill something squad, but having the 5-mans is quite nice, and again, it's a useful tool to have, so I do not mind that at all. Rhino obviously is needed to carry them around, nothing wrong with that. Now we've got a Hellbrute here with a Fist and a Scourge. What I would say is there is very little incentive to ever really want the Scourge. You would just be better going either double Fist for having like 2 Flamers, for example, or going Fist and Hammer, so you have the choice. If you run into something like Chaos Knights, you can run up to them, -1 save contagion, make that hammer AP4, D6 +1 damage, and just bonk it out of the universe. So I don't mind Hellbrutes. They're a lot better in Mortarian's Hammer, where you can walk through walls, for example, but they're not the worst thing in the world. They get +1 to wound against anything that's, in contagion, so basically, with the hammer on or the fist on, you pretty much ruin everything in the game on 2s, which is quite nice to have, so that's fine. Tomb Effect Blight Horse, great choices, really good unit. Now, this is the problem we've got here. Plague Burst Crawler, it's again, as we said with Blight Lords, Plague Burst Crawlers tend to come in, they're either doing a very, very specific role, like sitting on your home objective and you're really scared of, like, deep striking a lot of stuff because it's tough, or you take 3 of them and you're playing something like Mortarian's Hammer. You've already got a lot of points in expensive units like Mortarion and Demon Prince. Like, those are very expensive units. You don't want to have another expensive tank. Unfortunately, the Plague Burst Crawler is just not very good. And right now, looking at it, as we come up here, our Lord of Virulence is actually buffing very little in your army. There's very little blast weapons outside this Plague Burst Crawler, and you're not going to bring him for a single Plague Burst Crawler. I'm going to be that guy, and I'm going to say it instantly, like, this Plague Burst Crawler should just be 2 heavy blight launch drones. I know they're boring, I know they're goddamn everywhere, but they are really good, and if you're after a competitive list, that's where I'm going to say, probably look at getting. Now, I'm not going to push to get 3, because there's a good chance to get nerfed, so 3 might not be the play, but 2 will always be good, because in this detachment, there's a lot of virulence in there to give them the rerolls to hit. You've got the stratagem to give them the reroll the shot amounts, they're going to do a lot more damage. Now, you've also got a 20-man squad of Boxwalkers. Wouldn't really recommend this. I would probably just go 3 times 10. These guys are supposed to be cheap. Infiltrators. They can hide easier with 10 models. 20 models is kind of when you've got Typhus in your list and you want to be a bit of Typhus tech. But you don't really have that, so I would just cut that down. So that's going to save you 70 points. You can use the 5 points there to get this Plague Burst Scroll turned into 2 bloat drones. Then going to float you 65 points. Now, if these Blight Lord Terminators come down to Death Shroud, that's going to then float you another 45 points. So that's 45 plus 60. So that's going to be 110 spare points there. And like at that point, I'm not going to lie, I am looking at, like, you could just go with another demon engine, another small demon engine, like another HBL drone or a hauler. Hellbrute, I'm not want to change too much here again, as we said before. You could also just grab a Biologist Putrefier for the other 5-man squad. Crit 5 is just a really good buff to have in general, and being able to just still give him full rerolls means it can hit up quite hard, though I'm not too sold on that. What I would like to see is... How many float? Floating 110, floating 110. What can we do with 110? What can we do with 110? I would probably. I mean, you could turn Lord of Virulence into a Lord of Contagion, and you would lose the reroll to hit for the HBL drones. But people, if you're only running 2 HBL drones, it's not the biggest thing in the world. We know Derek Apshe has been doing well with the Mortarion Demon Prince list, which has 2 HBL drones, no Lord of Virulence, and that's been doing quite well with a lot of Contagions in there, which is quite nice. So people tend to use the double Death Shroud, double Lord of Contagion when it comes to Mortarion and Demon Prince, because it's just that forward pressure that allows Mortarion and Demon Prince to sort of take the mid board while they're dealing with your Death Shroud, and then Mortarion can then be a threat the next turn. But you don't have to worry about too much. So right now, I think the easiest changes to make for this to make it instantly more competitive would be drop the PBC, get 2 Heavy Blight Launch drones, drop this Poxwalker unit down to another 10 man, and then use a spare 110 points you've got to either get another form of 90-point Demon Engine, because they are just really stupid, really good, or if you wanted to get your Death Shroud to have easier chance of dropping, you could also get a unit Chaos Spawn in there. Wouldn't be against that too much. But you could also then you could do a Demon Engine and then use the spare points to get your Lord of Virulence, like the Furnace of Plagues, or you can get him Demon Weapon of Nurgle, just to increase his melee output with those Death Shroud. And I think that's instantly going to be a more competitive list, because you've got now 2 HBL drones, which are really good. Your Poxwalkers are spread out into the minimum. Then you're going to get an extra Demon Engine in there, for example, whether it's a 3rd Hauler or a 3rd HBL drone, or a 3rd normal drone. There's nothing wrong with that either. And then you got the points to give him a bit of enhancement. I think that's going to end up just making it naturally stronger list, and from there you can start to look into, pivoting more away. Like maybe you want to get a 2nd squad of Death Shroud in there, so then you can start looking at making other chops and changes elsewhere. But for now, I'd actually be quite happy with just those changes. I think that'd make it instantly more competitive, and you would do better with that list than the current one. I just think this PBC is the biggest problem right now. It's just not doing enough for you, really. So give that a try. Let me know how it goes on. And yeah, I think that will be some good little changes there. And again, we don't want to recommend too much, because we don't want to just like rip it all apart and start fresh. Right, up next we got Mr. Alex135 coming with Tally 1. So this is a Taliban Summoners. We got Great Unclean One with the Entropic Knell, which is, let me quickly round myself, because that's not a common enhancement I see. I think, is this the one that heals? This one that heals, or is this the one that makes people take battle shock tests? I need to remember. Thing up, Taliban of Nurgle. Taliban, the Summoners. Enhancements. Entropic Knell. Yeah, this is the 6-inch, everyone must take battle shock at -1 if they're not at full strength. Okay, that's fine. 2 Great Unclean Ones. We've got Rotagus as well. Lord of Contagion with the Beckoning Blight. Lord of Pox with the Fell Harvester. I love this little thing. Putting him up to like 8 attacks with... is it 8? Yeah, so he's up to 8 attacks with his little sword. It's really cute, and it can actually do quite well. Then we've got 2 Plague Marine squads. We've got a squad of Plague Bearers as well. We've got some Chaos Rhino, a Beast of Nurgle, 2 Chaos Spawn, 1 squad of Death Shroud Terminators. No doubt they're going to be coming in with that Lord of Contagion for that big drop. Triple HBL drone. Okay, so this list has one huge problem, and that is your game plan is quite clear. You're going to drop in this Lord of Contagion 6 inches away from your opponent because of the Death Shroud. Then you're going to drop in a Great Unclean One, another Great Unclean One, and a Rotagus. All within 12 of that guy. So this is cool on paper, and it does work. The problem is you have nothing to start up the board to fight for that space. And that's the biggest problem you're going to have. Normally, we want to see something like Poxwalkers, even just like a unit of Poxwalkers to buy some infiltrating space, because that's then going to, obviously, you can move block your opponent, make sure you're getting a nice drop. And you obviously got to be a bit careful, because you'll be starting, if you do that, you will be starting like 2,000 points off the board, which is, you probably have to start, I think you actually do have to just start one of these on the board because of points limitations. Yeah, you will. So, one of your Great Unclean does have to start on the board, which is fine. There's nothing wrong with that. As he said, why would you ever include Death Shroud? Not yet, Mr. Necros, not yet. So, I think you need a little bit more chaff here. So what I'm actually thinking is potentially you could... Cause I've run a similar list. Like, my similar list is where my head's at, but I'm only running 1 Great Unclean One, 1 Rotagus, and then using this 250 points, or this 265, because I got the enhancement, to basically fill up stuff to buy early space. So I've got 3 units of Poxwalkers, for example, and then basically another unit of Spawn, just to basically buy that early space. But you've got a Scouting Beast of Nurgle here. That's not too bad. I think honestly, it's very it's a very fine list because it's naturally just going to do what it does, which is stat check someone. You've got 3 toughness 13 bodies here, which can be really hard to deal with. You've still got an extremely scary Lord of Contagion here. You've got an extremely like punchy little Lord of Poxes brick there. I wouldn't even mind like dropping a Plague Marine squad and getting like drop a Plague Marine, drop something else, get some Poxwalkers in. Nurglings as well, I feel like sometimes you want to take a 6-man just to get the most out of the stratagem to revive the full squad, because if you're going to use them, you might as well get the most value you can out of them. So having a big squad of infiltrating Nurglings, that means they can also take up more space, which again ties into buying that early space for stuff to get dropped in after. So I don't mind that either. So I think for me on this one, my initial head is just at trying to get a unit, at least a unit of Poxwalkers in, and maybe trying to upgrade this Nurglings. I don't know if 4 Great Unclean Ones is the play. 3 Great Unclean Ones is the play. There's nothing wrong with that if it is, but I think if you're going to have 3 Great Unclean Ones, then you might have to make concessions somewhere else, like maybe you go down to like 2 HBL drones. You still need some shooting, obviously, so I don't actually mind the 3. But you can also go with LOV as well, because the LOV might just be better for supporting these bloat drones rather than the Lord of Contagion. That'll save you 20 odd points there, but it's not massive. Out of curiosity, since the point is small changes to get more, is there a kit for a high-performing model you'd hesitate to suggest due to IRL cost? Do you mean like is there a model that's in like a lot of good lists right now, which is really hard to get a hold of, and it's like expensive? I mean, Lord of Contagion he's very expensive if you want the official model, the old model anyway. It's very expensive to get a hold of, and it's very good in every list. So that's probably one of them. But it's really hard to not suggest an LOC at the moment just because of how effective and how powerful they are as a unit. So it's hard to say. And obviously, if you're going to commit to the Great Unclean Ones, like buying 3 Great Unclean One kits here, like obviously that means you can only play as detachment with this. That's a lot to commit. So I'd say if you're gonna build a Taliban summoners list, make sure you really want to play that, because again, those kits can only be used in that one detachment, and they are very good in it, but you're not going to get use out of them in any other detachment. So just probably bear that one in mind. So yeah, I mean, for this one, I just want to see you maybe try and get a little bit more forward pressure. I feel like you don't need Beast Nurgle and Chaos Spawn. I feel like you just pick one or the other, like depending on what you want to scout with, because that Chaos Spawn could easily become, like, use the spare points from it. You get some Poxwalkers, you got 20 more points, put them towards the Nurglings going up to a larger squad size. I genuinely think that would be probably better than just having that second squad of Spawn, because you've already got a scouting unit with the Beast Nurgle here. So I would probably try and just go for some bit more infiltrators to buy that early space. But honestly, it's a fine list. There's nothing wrong with that. You've got 2 squads of Plague Marines with all the melee weapons to go and clear objectives. You've got a unit of Plague Bearers, so you can still sticky home. Do you have anything that's going to sit on home? So that's something you also need to consider, what's going to sit on home, because you don't actually really have anything. You don't want to have Plague Bearers sat on home. So again, just consider these things. You might want to, again, have another unit of Poxwalker that can sit on home. One thing I don't mind doing is having Plague Bearers strung out to home, so they stick here, and then have your Nurglings, your big Nurgling brick, exposed to move block or do something like that early on. They obviously will kill your Nurglings. You pay CP to put them back into your list, into reserves, and then you basically deep strike them onto your home objective. Now it's been sticked, so you don't need OC on it, and they'll sit there and hold it for the entire game, because 6 Nurglings spread out takes up a lot of space. It's sticked, so you don't have to worry about them having no OC, and there you go. You get a cheap home holder, allows your Plague Bearers to then walk off and do something else elsewhere. That's a fun little trick you can do. So yeah, part of that, I don't think you're too far off a pretty good list. Just remember your strength is all in that massive drop, so you need to make sure you've got units in your list to set up and enable that drop to go off. Have you seen or heard of a YouTube series called Conjin House? I don't believe I have, Mr. Blended. I don't believe I have. You have to explain what that is to me. But yeah, do you think Terminators or Plague Marines make better value to pal with the demons in general? Right now, I think demons in general, Terminators in general just outperform Plague Marines are good, but Plague Marines are squishy, and sometimes that 4-up invulnerable on Terminators and just how cheap they are at the moment tends to just generally outperform Plague Marines, because Plague Marines also need a delivery system. They need a Rhino. To make them do quite a bit of damage outside of VV, you need to bring characters, whereas like 3 Death Shroud Bare Bones can still kill plenty of things. So in general, I think Terminators are probably just better, but there's nothing wrong with the odd Plague Marine squad, because OC does matter. In games, it genuinely does, but I feel like if I'm going to bring a unit for OC, I'm going to spend the extra 15 points and get a unit of Plague Bearers, because that's 20 OC with a 5-pin vulnerable, which is probably more annoying to just shift. JP, considering this list after seeing success with the 5-man Lord of Pox's unit sitting on a natural, dunno though lol, the second squad sits on the natural. Idea is the 10-man squad surgeon, So, yeah, are almost impossible to take off the natural without a hugely disproportionate resource committed, and then you overload the other side of the board with +2 toughness and fights first. Just means it should always trade even with big nasty units. It's worked in games at my local, but whether it works at tournaments is another question. Right, okay. So I'm going to assume we're playing champions here. Right. Biology Putrefire. Final ingredient. Lord of Contagion, Lord of Poxes. I think Cornucophagus is a huge trap. It is 35 point enhancement. It is so expensive, and I don't feel like you ever need Cornucophagus, especially if you're going to run final ingredient. So if we're going to be tight on points here, I'm going to be telling you probably to drop Cornucophagus. Now, that being said, we've got a Malignant Plague Caster, a Plague Surgeon, Tallyman. Right, okay, so what's going on? So we have Surgeon, Lord of Poxes. Now, you always have on-demand fight first, which does make that actually really annoying. You have on-demand crit fights. It is incredibly annoying. Like, that thing is not going to get shifted, and it's going to sit on that point and be happy all game. Now, double Tallyman, I've seen it do some work. I'm not against it, but again, I would rather use, like, if I can find 20 points somewhere, like, I would rather take the 20 points, the 35 points off this Cornucophagus, shove that onto a Tallyman and turn it, and 5 points off a unit spawn then even. Sorry, 25. It's 35 points, yeah, so 5 points off spawn, or I have Poxwalkers and change, so you know where my head's there. 3 squads of Death Shroud Terminators, 2 squads, 1 to go Lord of Contagion each, totally makes sense. We've already got 3 squads of Poxwalkers, do not mind that. And we got a squad of Chaos Spawn, nice. We got 2 Fetid Bloat drones with the HBL drones, 2 Mythic Blight Halls, and a Chaos Rhino. Okay, straight up, I'm going to say this list is fine. There's nothing wrong with it. This list is pretty damn good. You are playing a bit devil's advocate. I won't lie, Necros, when you play Cock, you're already at a disadvantage. You have to take characters. Like, Assassinate is a given, but the thing is, if an opponent takes Assassinate, you sit behind walls and you say, I have on-demand fight first, try it. And you just don't let them score. You're just like, cool, I'll just sit behind it. You have to come and kill me to get your secondary points. I can sit behind walls with my OC on objectives and have a nice day. So it's not the worst thing in the world. Now, 2 HBL drones, 2 Mythic Blight Halls gives you a nice little shooting package. This is quite well rounded, this list. I do like it. The only thing that's going to be hard, and I'd ask you is, what happens if you're in a scenario where your opponent is, you're sat on your secondaries, which is fine. The opponent sat on their sat on their natural. The opponent sat on their natural. You both sat on naturals. They can't really take you off yours because you got all that fight first stuff on it. That's fine. But what happens when you need to try and, flip something, or you need to make a trade? They've put a unit out in the middle of the board. They've put, I don't know, a lone up, stupid, freaking, I don't know, lieutenant or sanguine or something's in the middle of the board. What do you have that can go and trade that? Because that's where you tend to look at, like, your small units, like, like your little 5-mans and stuff. Now, trading isn't, this is the good thing right now. Trading is not the name of the game right now, and it's the thing that I'm struggling with because I am a trade-focused player. Right now, there's lots of big, scary units, so having big, scary units of your own is a great natural counter to that. And you've still got 3 squads of Poxwalkers, which is nice because it means you got stuff to throw away. That's fine. You still got a squad of Chaos Spawn. It's generally a well-rounded list. The problem is when it comes to actually have to deal with something, like come and deal blows to something, you can have a little bit of trouble in terms of getting value because everything you expose, that is either you're going to be demon engines, and if you lose them and they explode, then you're going to basically be I'm always trading. I'm always not trading. That's fair. If you're just going to have a big go turn, there's nothing wrong with that. Now, one thing I will say here is I am still uneasy about having 1 Rhino. I understand the logic. You've got 18-inch loan up and a lot of poxies. That's going to allow him to get to that secondary objective. Again, provided you get a decent thingy. But again, there are lists out there that can go very fast and very shooty. So if you're against like the Stormlance list with the Stormraven and stuff, that will get an angle and that will just kill that squad. So you have to be careful and think about what you're against. If you're against a lot of high mobility armies, you're going to want that second Rhino, which again is easily done. Cornucophagus off. You can drop something like Chaos Spawn, get that second Rhino in there. There's nothing wrong with that. So you have plenty of room to change. But I honestly think if I was to be like absolutely brutal, my opinion would be I would rather, you could drop the Plague Surgeon here because again, Needle and Nurgle is still unreliable. You can just roll a 1 on it rather than the D3. You have the on-demand fight first, but if you really want to lock down your natural objective, you take a Foul Blight Spawn instead because that stops people. Not only does it mean you have like fight first without having to spend a CP, because if your opponent ever catches you without a CP, they'll just charge you. But it's the 9-inch aura of not being able to advance. So quite often with objectives, you'll be able to hold it from behind the wall with a couple of guys, but the majority of the objective will be on the other side of the wall. Which means if an enemy unit has a fast-moving unit or a good advance roll, they can normally put OC on the other side of the objective and deny that. Now, if you have one of these little douchebags, these little foul blight spawns, and you sit on the opposite side of the wall, they now can't advance onto that objective, which is going to stop them being able to flip it as easily with just pure OC. So just bear that in mind, and it also means that you have fight first without a CP here, which means you only have to keep it up for the other squad. So just bear that in mind. It's a small little change you could do. But again, if you're getting value out of Needle of Nurgle, nothing wrong with that. Again, there's nothing wrong with this list. There's generally nothing wrong with this list. It's a fine list. Just, again, be aware that sometimes you might need to have a bit more of a tradey profile. Just know your local meta. Know if you need a second Rhino. But honestly, JP, I think this list will be doing pretty fine. Just again, be aware these 10-man Plague Marines you have to be careful with and not get them picked off because they're very, very, very expensive. But yeah, honestly, mate, JP, that's a fine list, especially for Cock. It's a good Cock list. Alistair, currently running this list in a league. I am 1 and 2 in the list so far, so would love some insight for expanding it to 2K in the upcoming weeks and comments on the list in general. Hello, YouTube. Hello, he says for the YouTubes. Right, okay, so Death Dealers, 1,500 points. Buy up. So 2 Biops, Lord of Contagion, Demon Weapon of Nurgle, Lord of Virulence, Malignant Playcaster, 2 massive bricks of Plague Marines, Rhino, Death Shroud, 1 HBL, 1 Fitback. Okay, straight up, real easy one here. When you expand this up, 2 things need to happen. You need far more shooting in terms of like long range shooting, so like blight halls, bloat drones, stuff like that. And also you need more chaff. You need more poxwalkers, because again, let's go with the scenario we just said then. You are playing this list. You have drawn first turn. You have drawn Area Denial. And you've also drawn Secure No Man's Land. What unit are you going to put on the middle of the board? What are you going to put out there? You're going to put out a 300-point Plague Marine unit. It's going to die. It's not going to get value. You're going to put out one of your only 2 shooting units. It's going to die. You have no guns left. You need to split these groups apart. One big 10-man Plague Marine squad is brilliant in VV. I don't think the second one is the play. What I would rather do here, I would rather, again, drop one of the bricks. You can get the Demon Prince, and the Demon Prince is so good in VV. It's one of the best parts about it. Get that guy in, replace it for that second Plague Marine squad. That guy can stand in the open, do things, score action stuff, because that 12-inch loan up on the fact he's Toughness 12, 2 up, 4 up, 5 up, feel no pain. Really strong. And then it's all about getting in some more chaff units, so another squad. Again, you got 500 points here when you expand, so at least another 2 squads of pop, at least 1 squad of Poxwalkers. You can go 2, and then you also, when we talk about this again, the reason you're going to be struggling as well is Death Shroud are brilliant, but they need to get that drop on someone, that 6-inch deep strike. You don't really have anything here that is going to be putting your opponents in contagion without exposing a massive asset. And that's where units like Chaos Spawn come in. Chaos Spawn sit behind a wall, wait for your go turn, then they move and advance out, put units in contagion, boom, 6 units Death Shroud, go. So you need to basically, you've got the core damage dealing units are here, but you need more guns though. I don't think you need 2 10-man bricks in VV, but you can do it if you really want to. But what you need to do is 500 points that are coming up, I need to get more shooting, so another 2 of these buggers here at least. Another hauler would be preferable, so that's going to be 290 points, which leaves you with 210. And then spend that 210, spend 120 of it on Poxwalkers, which is going to leave you with 90. Spend the rest on a unit of Chaos Spawn, and that's instantly like looking at a healthier, better list, because now you've got more shooting platform, way more. You've got 5 Demon Engines now that can shoot. You've got 3 squads of Poxwalkers, 1 to sit on home objective and screen stuff out and sticky it. And you've got another one that can infiltrate onto an objective, potentially sticky it turn 1. And you've got another one that can either be screening, can be doing actions, can hold an objective. And you've got way more shooting, and the triple HBL drone is going to give you a lot more value out of this Lord of Virulence for the full rerolls. Now, that's a scary list now. That's a scary list with trading units, because I think probably the reason you got these 2 losses so far is because you're having to use, imagine if you draw a turn where you've got to do sabotage, recover assets. 3 units have got to do actions. You've got, Rhinos can potentially do it, if they're still alive. And then you've got the Poxwalkers maybe. But if any of them are dead, you're now having to use either a Death Shroud or one of your shooty engines or one of your massive Plague Marine bricks. And that's a no-no, really. So, honestly, easy way to do it, like I said, for expanding to 2K. If you aren't allowed to change anything, but you're only allowed to expand, 2 HBL drones, 1 hauler, 2 Poxwalkers, 1 Spawn. Instantly make the list a lot more rounded, better able to play the mission. If you are allowed to trade stuff, consider thinking about swapping out this second 10-man Plague Marine squad here. Also get rid of the bolt gun. If I ever see a bolt gun, I will hunt you down in your sleep. Bolt gun bad. Remember chat? Bolt gun bad. Bolt gun bad. So just bear this in mind as you go forward. If you can, so like I said, if you can't change it, add those units in. If you can change it, maybe consider, do you need this second 10-man Plague Marine squad? There's nothing wrong with it. It's still fine, but they're very expensive. And stuff like the Demon Prince of Nurgle with the enhancement can just make your opponent have to make such awful decisions against you, which you can then punish. So, and then again, if you do that, that saves you the 85 for the Rhino, the 190 for this, and then the characters. So you can honestly get like a bare bones squad of Death Shroud Terminators, or upgrade one of your 3-mans into a massive 6-man. That's a real scary unit now. Like, that is a night go bye-bye, like, kind of unit. So bear that in mind. That would make this a lot more rounded, a lot stronger, and hopefully do you well in your league games that are coming up, Mr. Alistair. Excellent. Then we got Chris Mack, Guns of Barbarous. So this is Mortarian's Hammer. So Biology Putrefire, Lord of Contagion with the Shriek when familiar, which I believe is the free Overwatch. Lord of Virulence with Tendril Submissions, that is the Lone Up. Malignant Playcaster and Tallyman. Plague Marines, the 10-man squad with 3 heavy plague weapons. So, yeah, the usual shooty platform. Okay. We've got a Land Raider. Okay. We're raiding some lands. 1 Predator, 2 Predator. Last kind. 6-man Death Shroud Terminator squad. Holy shit. 1 Fetid Bloat Drone, 2 Fetid Bloat Drone, 3 Fetid Bloat Drone, 2 Pathetic Blight Halls, 2 Poxwalkers. LOV will stand with the Bloat Drone so we can loan up. LOC with the Death Shroud to start in reserves. Putrefire and Playcaster with the Plague Marines to go in the Raider. Tallyman to hold home. Okay. So, if I drop the Plague Marines in the Land Raider, I can afford a dual battle cannon, just Knight Despoiler, another hull, and a 3rd unit of Poxwalkers, which does sound more useful, but I really like Land Raiders. Okay, if you really like Land Raiders and Plague Marines, we can make that work. That's fine. What I'm going to say, though, is when you're going to run something that expensive in a brick, what you're actually going to probably find yourself having more use with is potentially breaking these Death Shroud apart and having them playing 3-mans. Because the great thing about Mortarian Time is being able to pick 2 units and be like, you're in contagion. And having that ability to threaten that elsewhere, whilst your Land Raider plows down the front door, is going to be really powerful. So what I'm going to say is, here, we get 10 points back off that. Now, obviously, you preferably want a second Lord of Contagion, won't lie, but you don't necessarily need one. 3-man bare bones Death Shroud are fine. So, I reckon, let's have a quick look. You guys doing with Poxwalkers. Halls are good. Bloodrun's good. Predator Structures are good as well. They're just expensive. Yeah, I think that's really the only thing that stands out straight up. So you can go bare bones 3-man Squad of Death Shroud plus Lord of Contagion 3 Death Shroud. 1 second. Or you can go. I wouldn't put a lot around. Yeah, so the 6-man's fine. I get that. I don't think there's anything like particular, like horribly wrong with this list. Obviously, it's not optimal. There is optimal plays obviously figured out for Hammer. It's like, Plague Burst Crawls and all that nonsense in there. But within your limitations of what you like and what you want to take with the Land Raider and the Plague Marines, you could generally do a lot worse. Because you can bust through a wall with Land Raider, you can disembark with the Plague Marines, they can then shoot with like full rerolls if something's in deployment, and then you can also go and charge something that's pretty good. I would, again, the only thing that makes me want to split the Death Shroud is because on that go turn when this Land Raider comes out, I would rather have 3 threats in my opponent's lines rather than 2 threats, because 3 threats, it's very likely your opponent can kill one of them. It's unlikely they can kill 2 of them, but they can damage a second one. But if there's 3 of them, one of those units is definitely going to get away scot-free, which means that can then push in further. That's why I tend to like having 3 units going in at once. Now, obviously, the Land Raider is going in as well, so they might not leave that, so it might not get killed, which is nice. I think I probably would actually just run the bare bones Death Shroud Terminator squad. So you got 3 with an LOC, 3 with that, because you'd have to find 110 points, which you can drop Shriek when familiar, that's fine, that's 15 right there, but you're still having to find 85 points, or, yeah, no, 95 points. And I'm going to assume this is bang on 2k. Looks like it, yeah, 2k. So that's... Because you've obviously got like the Malignant Playcast and the Balch Fire in there to do maximum damage, that obviously takes away points elsewhere. So I don't think this is a question of changing the list. I think this is more a question of, again, how much do you want to play something that's like competitive and meta, and how much do you want to play something that's yours? Because if you want to play the units that are yours and that you enjoy, keep with this list. But also consider, like I said, if you keep dropping in the Death Shroud Terminators and the Marines going at the same time, and it's working, brilliant. Just keep at it and stick with that. If you're finding, like, again, the managing to deal with those two threats and you're not got enough pressure on all fronts, feel free to split that Death Shroud Terminator squad down to 2 3-mans, run 1 bare bones, because again, people overlook that 3 bare bones Death Shrouds still get the job done. Not so much in a Nightmare, so bear in mind if there is a Night meta, you will probably want to have that 6-man. So again, ideal scenario in a Night meta is you come out, the Plague Marines charge 1, shoot and charge 1 Knight with the Land Raiders shooting it and stuff. They kill that. Death Shroud 6-man comes down, bangs a charge, kills that Knight. And the rest of you shooting either really weakens or kills the 3rd Knight. That's like just ends the game right there. So again, consider your local meta. If you're full of Knights, then I would probably keep the 6-man Death Shroud squad for sure. Nothing wrong with that. I would consider that. But just be aware. And also the Tallyman I don't feel like you actually need. Tallyman... If you're just sitting on home, again, nothing wrong with that. But just bear in mind, Hammer isn't really super hungry on CP. It generally doesn't need that much CP. It's all this. There's no stratagem that you're looking to use every turn. There's strats that are really nice when you need them, but you're never like hungry like in Cork or VV for it. So Talon's not exactly needed in this one. So you could technically drop him as well. But again, you're not really getting to that second Lord of Contagion. You could, instead of trying to get a Lord of Contagion, you could try and get Typhus instead, because you get 10 points refunded from the Death Shroud squad, 15 points from that, so that's 25. Drop him, that's 65. So you're only 25 points off getting a Typhus for that squad. But again, you're still having to cut something, which doesn't feel great. Like you could downgrade a Predator Destructor to like another like Hauler, for example. Go triple Hauler, triple Bloat Drone, 1 Predator Destructor, and use a spare points. Then you'd have plenty of spare points. Then you could get like the Lord of Contagion, for example. You could probably even keep the Tallyman as well. So yeah, just give those. That's a bit of food for thought, really. But I don't think if your heart doesn't seem to be in it for the Battle Cannon Despoiler and a Hauler and the 3rd Unit Despoilers, it might be better. I won't lie, it's probably. But if you really like Land Raiders and you like Plague Marines, stick with what you enjoy, because you'll just have more fun anyway. Again, you just need to know what you're trying to do. If you're trying to genuinely like win a tournament and like get first place, then you do have to make some concessions. But if you're not, you're just looking to do well, get a positive win rate, I think you'll be fine with what you enjoy there. So yeah, it's a cool list though. I think I'd love to see people getting more creative with Hammer rather than doing the derpy thing. That's why I don't want you to recommend you go do the derpy build, because it's so boring. It generally sends you to sleep. So I would rather see things like this. But yeah, it's a very cool list. Then we've got Mr. Strongboy coming in. Rotagus rules, you drool. I gotta change my thing. Hello, Thundin. How are you doing, buddy? I'm gonna change the screen over a second to my... Gonna get my thingy up here. Rotagus rules, you drool. Oh, you're not gonna pick it up. You're not gonna pick it up. Come on. No, we don't want to put that. There we go. Oh god, I've clicked on an ad. There we go. Okay, so this is in paste bin. So, we have Forts in the Night matchup. This is meant for WTC terrain, so quite dense. I have access to pretty much anything to change lists around a bit. The Nurglings exist purely to drop and add 3-inch contagion range. GUO starts on the table. So we've got GUO, we've got Lord of Contagion, with yeah, always be careful with the Warlord in those matchups. Bloody hell, ads. So many bloody ads. Always be careful, you don't want to get him punked out. We've got a Lord of Contagion with Fell Harvester. That's going to give him 7 attacks, which is really nice. We've got a Lord of Virulence. We've got Roger. So 2 Fat Man, 3 Terminate characters. Unit of Plague Bearers. Again, Plague Bearers are really good. As I said before, use the same trick for your Nurglings that you've got up here. You can... Oh, okay, you want to use them specifically for something else, but just bear that in mind. 1 squad of Death Shroud, 2 squad of Death Shroud, 3 squad of Death Shroud Terminators. Again, 3 for each guy. Nothing wrong with that. 2 HBL drones, triple Pathetic Blight Hauler, 1 unit of Nurglings, 2 units of Poxwalkers. So, we are looking at here mainly... It's going to be an interesting one, because against Knights, this can become very interesting. If you have the Lord of Contagion with a Fell Harvester and a Great Unclean one go into a Knight, they will kill one. More than likely, they kill it. Because again, you drop them down to T9, then the Lord of Contagion will do on 3s because of Lance. One of them's going to have +2 attacks. You can always play the CP to give them full rolls to hit, which, yeah, they hit on 2s, but you can always fish for sustained lethals at that point. Get quite a bit done. The Great Unclean ones are also going to be a D6 +2 damage because of Rotigus on a Knight that they want to be, so you could potentially double team on there. That's fine, I don't mind that. Chaos Knights will give you more issues because the -1 damage is a little bit brutal, so just bear that in mind. That's not the greatest way to do it. I worry a little bit about shooting Knights to death here. You've got a fair amount of shooting, though, to be fair. You've got 3 light hauls and 2 HBL drones, so yeah, you can actually shoot them pretty decently. Poxwalkers. So the biggest issue you're going to have here is against Lords of Dread, because Lords of Dread, OC5 Sticky is going to be an absolute bitch for you. Because I believe Great Unclean ones are only OC5 and they have to exceed the OC, not equal it. Great Unclean one, OC5, yeah. So if you get into Lords, I would say this right here is not too bad into Imperial Knights. I think you'd be okay into Imperial Knights. I think there's better Death Guard builds into Imperial Knights, which is like Champions of Contagion. But there's nothing wrong with this build into Imperial Knights. Now, that being said, even against Chaos Knights, I would kind of be worried and I'd be asking my guy not to probably pair me into that. Mainly because you can potentially kill them. But if they get first and they get a lot of sticky off, this is like your only good OC unit, these 10 Plague Bearers. So if I'm my opponent, I'm going to take an uppy downy Gatling Knight and just kill them. And as soon as they're dead, like, none of these Death Shroud alone can take me off an objective. None of these Demon Engines are going to do it. They're only OC3. Poxwalkers could potentially, but again, Poxwalkers will die the second they get shown, so just bear that in mind. And the Great Unclean ones can't do it, which means that in order for them to untake objectives off you, it's either going to have to be 2 Great Unclean ones sticking together, or it's going to have to be Great Unclean one and Death Shroud sticking together. So as soon as one of those assets is removed from an area of a board, and then they sticky it, which is at the start of any phase, at any point in any phase, then you're going to have a big problem. So just bear that one in mind, really, but I don't think it's terrible against it. I think the idea of the list is pretty straightforward. Obviously, 1 Great Unclean starts on the board, 2 drop in, Rotigus, or you're starting 1 on the board. Ugh. I think if a Great Unclean starts on the board, it might be a little too televised for how slow it is against like Knights and stuff. I feel like, but again, the problem is if you go second against Knights, you could also just get ran down, which is also an issue. There's always that issue of starting too little on the board versus Knights in case they get first and have lots of melee and just run straight at you. So just bear that one in a little mind. Nurglings could obviously come in, extend the contagion range near something, and then, like you said, drop in on top of that Death Shroud. That's fine. I don't mind it. I honestly think you'll kill Knights. You will kill Knights. I just don't know if it's going to like counter Knights. Like if you're building a list specific to counter Knights, I think you're going to be better in a different detachment. But again, if you just said forcing the Knights matchup, I think you have game. I don't think you have a terrible game into it. I would just be a lot more scared about the bloody Chaos Knights OC5 sticky. And that's probably the only thing I'd be super scared of. Part of that is just going to come down to a lot of 4-up invulnerables. Like, they have big damage weapons. They got, flat 8 damage fists and stuff like that. If you bounce them on the 4-up invulnerables, you're going to be good. If you fail like 3 and you get twatted for 24 out of nowhere, then you're going to have a bad time. It's very swingy with Great Unclean ones just because of the nature of the 4-up invulnerable. They're high strength. You're pretty good against the shooting, though, because the shooting doesn't really have tons that can do with T13 super easy. They got like the actual post can, but everything else is a bit even the thermal cannons aren't great at it. So just bear that one in mind, really. But I think, honestly, Mr. Strongboy, I think you'll be okay. I don't see a huge weakness. I would maybe like to see like another unit Poxwalker just for move blocking. But again, you kind of, if your Knight's opponent's getting close to you, that means they're in Contagion, which means then you can drop on them. But just bear in mind, once you're down, you're going to be quite slow at getting around the board as well. So just bear that one in mind. But honestly, mate, I don't think it's terrible, Mr. Strongboy. I think there are certain aspects of it that work in a Knight matchup and certain aspects of it that can be a weakness. But I would prefer my money against Imperial Knights, but I would probably not put your Warlord as Beckoning Blight, because that sometimes will have to drop in at a place that you don't want to, because they have to get into the middle of your opponent's army to get good deep strikes off, and then that guy might just get killed. I would honestly, if I could, potentially, I would genuinely try and find a way to sneak in, like, I don't know, a Tallyman just so you have something to sit at home and be Warlord, so you don't have to risk one of your big boys getting punked in combat. Part of that though, I think it's fine, honestly. I think it'd be alright. Just avoid the Chaos Knight one if possible. Lords of Dread will give you a problem. But part of that, I think you will be majority okay. It's just going to come down to who plays better. It's big 4-up Knight. It's 4-up invulnerable big boys versus Imperial Knight big boys. If you get into combat and swing first, you'll kill them. If they get into you, you can potentially bounce it on a 4-up. It's all going to come down to the dice. Chris Smith, Virulent Vectorium. So we've got Lord of Contagion, 120 points, so the Demon Weapon of Nurgle. No worries, Last Criminal, how you doing, mate? Good to see you, man. Shambled on over. We've got another Lord of Contagion, double Lord of Contagion, Lord of Virulence, double Tallyman, Typhus. Where did this double Tallyman nonsense come from? I mean, it works. I've seen it work. It's pretty good. I'm just not for it, but it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it. Mark Roberts used it. Will uses it. There's nothing wrong with it. So we're going straight over the battle line. Who needs battle line, eh? 6 Death Shroud Terminators, double 3-man Death Shroud Terminators. So that's going to be Lord of Contagion. Bare Bones one should go with a 6-man. Demon Weapon of Nurgle should go with one of the 3-mans. Typhus with one of the 3-mans. Double Plague Bullock Drone with a Plague Spit. I actually really like this. I love these. I've missed these quite a bit. Really good at like playing forward aggression, being a contagion spreader to allow these 6-inch deep strikes to go off. Now just bear in mind though, be careful about keeping all of this off the board. There's a lot of stuff off the board. If you're against a rundown faction on Knights, they could just run you down if they get first turn, so bear that in mind. Triple HBL Drone, triple Mephetic Blight Hauler, triple Poxwalker. I used this list for the first time last night and beat Elder 90-74. Typhus was with the 6 brick. Okay, interesting. You got LV as well. You got LV? Did I miss the LV? I did. LV spotting solo. Yeah, people, that's fine. LV spotting solo is completely fine. There's nothing there. It works good into elves because flamers. I'm wondering how it would work into something tougher. It will just work. Like, so in an effort to not sound rude here, Mr. Chris. This is 3 of the best unit we have, followed by 3 of the best unit we have, followed by 3 of the best unit we have, followed by 3 of the best unit we have. It's gonna be a good list because it's just got 3 of everything good. The biggest weakness you have here, if I'm being brutally honest, is I would try maybe to get another unit a spawn in here, because I would personally drop the Poxwalker. One squad of Poxwalkers maybe, and then I mean I'd drop a Tallyman to be honest with you, but I'm not going to force you to do that. Because the thing is, sometimes you need to get Contagion in a range where the bloat drones are going to struggle because they have to go around terrain. So sometimes having something like Spawn that can run through terrain and move a bit faster, I would actually prefer. So if there was a way here for you to potentially get some Spawn in here, I wouldn't be against that. But as is, this list, in terms of competitive play, doesn't really need changes. It really doesn't. Virulent Vectorium, you have Sticky, you've got -1 damage, you can extend Contagion range, which again helps out with that issue anyway. You've got a massive Death Shroud Terminator brick, which will 100% kill a big Knight. You've got a second Death Shroud Terminator brick with a Demon Weapon of Nurgle Lord of Contagion, so that should kill another Knight. You've got an incredibly strong shooting package with all the HBL drones and the triple Mephetic Blight Haulers. The only thing this is like missing out of like a meta list would be the Demon Prince, but this also, the Demon Prince is a utility pick. You don't really take him for damage. This list just generally hits harder. So this is more powerful, but less better at sort of like it's not as good at the defensive neutral gameplay, but in terms of like dealing damage and just killing your opponent, this is absolutely brutal. This is one of those brutal things I've seen. And these 2 bloat drones will force better trades than Spawn will ever do, because it's much harder to kill these guys than Spawn. So, well, 50-50, but again, these require like anti-tank profiles. Spawn take like anti-elite profiles, so it forces out the anti-tank, and once you've killed the anti-tank with like the retaliation of these 6 units, then your opponent's gonna have a real bad time, and then everything else on the board is just one thing I realized recently is lists like this work really well because, let's go through this very quickly. All these 4 are invulnerable, all of these 5 are invulnerable. So what about the units that don't have an invulnerable? They gotta feel no pain. Every single one of these units has some form of either invulnerable save or save over a save. I think the Spitters, I prefer Spitters as well over Mowers. Mowers are okay, Mowers are fine, there's nothing wrong with Mowers, but I like Spitters because of Overwatch. Just because sometimes I will just put them in a place where it's like, cool, if you want to walk past me, I will spray. You know, This guy's got 5 little OC2 Eldar or something that want to walk onto my natural objective, but I've parked a bloke drone in the way and I'm just like, cool. Do you want to spend your Battle Force token there? Because then I'll just shoot something else wherever I want. Or, 10 guards when they're going to walk past me, it makes people doubt themselves because the Overwatch gets anti-infantry 2 up. It's going to be AP2 because you name it. It's going to clean through those things. Every 2 up I roll is just a dead guy. So whereas flesh mowers you can just walk past and it's like, cool, it's a flesh mower. As long as I don't go into melee with it, it's not going to do anything. So I prefer my bloat drones as being like control board pieces rather than being like killy things. And Spears still kill a lot of things, to be fair. So yeah, I mean, I don't need to recommend any changes to the list. It's a really solid list. Just understand, again, you don't have the Demon Prince, so your neutral game is a bit worse. It's all about going in that go turn, smashing your opponent, and then don't be afraid once that the Death Shroud all drop in. Don't be afraid to start pushing it with the halls, because again, if they're shooting your halls, they're not shooting your Death Shroud. If they're shooting your Death Shroud, the halls can be up into melee range. Just bear that in mind, but there's not too much to suggest on this one, Chris Smith. It's incredibly powerful list because it's one of those get best units spam free. It's naturally just going to be really strong. Look out for that nerf, though. Look out for that nerf when it comes in. That's going to be brutal. Epsilon. So, hello, Mr. Epsilon. He said, big day for Taliban list. Post another and tag you in if you can take a look. No worries, man. So, Taliban here from Epsilon. So, triple GUOs with Flail, 1 with the Entropic Knell, LOV with the Beckoning Blight, Taliban, triple Poxes, triple HBL, triple MBH, Night Despoiler. Okay. Okay, then over to melee drones. Don't know whether melee drones over halls are worth it. Halls to annihilate knights is good in our meta. That's it. Nice quick one. Try dual PVCs and they're pretty good too. Rogus is overrated, as are every other Nurgle demon. So if you're gonna go triple GO, I'm gonna say take Rogus. Like Rogus, Rogus' utility what makes him good. Being able to make your knights like your Grand Clean ones like D6 plus 2 damage, or give him 3 damage sweeps, for example, so 2 damage sweeps, for example, or your Grand Clean ones 2 damage sweeps and stuff like that. It's really good when it comes up, and the -1 OC can make a world of difference when your opponent has a lot of elite stuff. Not many people are running battle line things, which means a lot of stuff in the game is 1 OC. If you make that 0 OC, doesn't matter how much shit they send at you, they aren't taking you off an objective, which is incredibly powerful in terms of like defending naturals and things like that. So I'm going to disagree on that one. I think Rotigus, I would instantly swap out one of the GUOs for Rotigus. I don't tend to go with the flails because the flails don't really do anything. The biggest problem with the flail is it's like a 6-inch range, so which means if you're swinging your flail, you're about to charge that unit, and if the flail kills anything, they're just going to pull models and make your charge harder. So I would just take the little knives and just have the extra attacks in melee instead. Personally, anyway. Again, just personally. And again, with Rotigus in there, that now becomes damage 3 little knife, and the big sword's D6 plus 2 big sword. It's a lot more, that's fair. I suppose you can. The negative to the spamming, I wouldn't worry too much about babysitting him for T13. He doesn't really need it. T12 is good enough as it is, unless your opponent has like a really abnormal amount of toughness, strength 12 weapons. Then T13 matters. But outside of that, I wouldn't even bother babysitting him really. I think he's okay to just be T12. But yeah, the negative toughness spamming is good, I won't lie. Just bear in mind, obviously, you can't stack it on the same unit. It's just going to be -1 and then Nurgles, and then Contagion Aura, so -2 tops. You can't make someone -5, for example, or -4, sorry. Just be aware of that. You probably are aware of that anyway, but just will point out. Again, triple HBL, triple MBH. It's 2 of our best units. Obviously going to do really well. It's just good. And the Night Despoiler in here gets even better because, again, we're talking about units that are going to be now -2 toughness. You've still got the -1 save. You can shoot at people that have been locked up by demons because you make the demon phase out with the CP. So it's really good at just having this Night Despoiler just firing at things from the back, and it gives this list reach, which allows the GOOs to play forward. I would honestly, triple MBH. Do you need triple MBH at this point? I don't know if you do. Look, it's a proper skew. It's a proper skew. You're not really looking to make use of like sticky and like. I would still love a unit of sticky in here, but again, if you've got a time and you've got some poxes that are going to sit on home, it definitely does not stack. So the new ruling, if you read the Death Guard one in the book, the ruling on that, the exact wording says, pick an unit within blah, 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 until it says that unit is rotted. That means it is applying a status effect, like suppressed, like something else. Once something is rotted, it doesn't matter how, because if another Great Unclean one does it on the same target, he does the exact same thing. He makes it rotted. but it says whilst the unit is rotted, they subtract -1 for their toughness. You can rot that unit 3 times. That's fine, but the effect rotted is just -1 toughness. You can't rot something, so just bear that one in mind. Anything that complies a status effect named, a named effect doesn't stack. If it just said subtract 1 from the toughness, then it would stack. But the fact it says it makes them rotted is what stops it stacking. I'm good, Phil. How are you doing, mate? You're at lunch, bloody hell. We are in different time zones. I'm in the evening. Yeah, you could potentially bring like some melee drones, just have some bit of early forward pressure. But again, I think that holds honestly totally fine. Like that is completely fine there. It's again, you got 6 of the best thing here. The Night Dispeller is really fucking stupid at the moment. So you got like really good staple units here, and Poxwalk is just always good. It's basically getting this stupidly cheap Demon Engine spam that is just doing really well at the moment. Adding in the stupid Knight, that's really cheap and really good at the moment. And then just, rather than going the Mortarian's Hammer skew, where it just goes even more gun line, instead you're adding 3 massive fat melee monsters into it. So it will do well. Like, I have no doubt this will do well. So, just make sure you've got something to set up. Again, that LOV dropping in with the Beckoning Blight, totally fine. You can rapid ingress him, then walk and advance forward, then drop everything in. Just be a little... The only thing I'd be scared of in this one is if your opponent is a very fast melee army and can rush you down, then you might need to start your Great Unclean Ones on the board, which then obviously loses a lot of power of the list. So just bear that in mind. But you still do have triple poxies for making screens, making walls. But it will work because you've just got the best units. Like, it's just naturally from pure value of data sheets, it's going to do well. And again, the HBL drones can keep shooting, the Night Dispeller can keep shooting. So even if they try and hug one of your Great Unclean Ones to keep themselves safe from shooting, you just phase out the Great Unclean One and shoot them to death anyway. It will work, it will do well. You've got a Taliban in there who can become your Warlord, so that helps in the night matchup, sitting on your home objective, never leave there. It's a solid list, Epsilon. It really is. Well, it's going to do the thing. I don't think you need to swap the drones to melee drones. I think you're fine with MBH HBLs. Because the melee power is going to be all on the 3 fat man who are going to be doing your frontline tanking for you. And whilst they're doing frontline tanking, it also means like the haulers and the drones are going to be free to shoot. Because again, you can't ignore the toughest 13 giant monster in your face. But at the same time, you like when you're trying to deal with him, you're going to be getting shot at by those demons at the back that you're ignoring. So, and the stupid despoiler. It's a high top. There is nothing in this list that is that for your opponent's anti-infantry to shoot at. Par Poxwalkers, which are again. They're probably going to be hiding. They're probably just going to be holding objectives, standing around doing actions. It's the least your opponent's concerned. So as a skew list, this is a really good build. You took all the toughness 12, toughness 13s up there. It's really hard to deal with already. And then everything else, the 6 other units are literally all T9, 3 up, 5 invulnerable. Really solid. Really, but there's one model, one infantry guy, the LOV. But again, he's a one and done. He drops in, marks something, drops 2 Great Unclean Ones. Who the fuck cares what happens to him at that point? Like, genuinely, do you care? So, yeah, Epsilon, that's a solid, disgusting list there, and I would not want to face that, because if someone does not have the tools for that, they're going to have a horrific time against that one. So, yeah, go on, I'll do the one that I'm especially tagged in, because you are here on live. So, Mr. Locustar, so this is the last one for tonight, guys, and then next, we'll obviously keep doing them on the weekly. So, Locustar. I'm not going to say that word, because that will get me monetized. Woohoo! I honestly think I think 1 LOV is just all you need. I don't think you need 2. 2 you could make an argument for, but I don't think you need 2. I think 1 LOV is genuinely just fine for most lists, but they are really good. Like, I'm not upset to have them. The buff's really nice, giving rerolls. Even if you don't take HBL on blast weapons, just really rolling once to hit is just a really nice buff. Plus full reroll wounds to his squad and shooting. When I had my Blight Lords running around with that, I was chunking things. I was just going, pick up that unit, shot a tank, take 9 damage. Like, really good. Really surprised me. I actually didn't realize how much I missed the LOV until I took him away. Played without him for ages, and I was like, you don't really need him. And then I put him back in, and I was like, oh my god, this guy's pretty good. So another Taliban, okay. Rogus, Great Unclean One, Lord of Contagion with Beckoning Blight, Lord of Virulence, Tallyman with a Warlord, good smart play. Plague Bearers, 2 Death Shroud Terminators, Poxwalker unit, 2 Beasts of Nurgle, Nurgling 6-man squad, 2 Fetid Bloat drones with HBL drones, and 2 Plague Burst Crawls. Plague Bearer Sticky Home, move off and Res Nurgling's dropped the screen. See, this man know. This man knows the play. Beasts and Pox to push forward and make space for DST and duo drops. PBC's help with that, as well as for using fun as all is rot. Okay, this is interesting. So this is a bit of a different approach. So the PBCs are almost being used as the way to like clear the screens out, which isn't the worst thing in the world. I don't dislike that. My only slight concern is getting the affliction on for your Death Shroud. Oh, wait, a Death Shroud turn. Yeah, the Death Shroud does have. What I would do here, potentially, I would take Beckoning Blight off the Lord of Contagion, and I would put it on the Lord of Virulence, and I would have him just be that drop in, because then you're not fussed if you get something in Contagion for a 6-inch drop. With the Great Lord of Contagion having it, he has to have something in Contagion to drop first, and then the Grey Unclean Ones can come in. But you got to bear in mind, the Grey Unclean Ones don't care about the 6-inch, the afflicted status of an opponent. So you can drop in 9 inches away, happy with a Lord of Virulence, and still drop a Grey Unclean One 6 on someone's face. But by putting that enhancement on the Lord of Contagion, you're now basically adding the stipulation to the Great Unclean Ones, because you don't want to drop your Lord of Contagion 9 inches away, which means he has to be afflicted. But because he's bringing the thing that's bringing the Great Unclean Ones, now they basically have the same stipulation stapled onto him. Does that make sense, what I'm trying to say? So what I would do is I would drop that off him, give it to the LOV. The LOV can again be a 1-bomb done, drop in, mark something, drop in the Great Unclean Ones. My job's done. If I live, I live. If I don't, I don't. And then that frees up your Lord of Contagion to either maybe he sits back and waits for a turn for when you get a better Contagion opportunity. Also, potentially means if you're playing turn 3 drop, because you're playing late, you go Lord of Virulence 9 inches away, Great Unclean One 6 inches away. He is now within 6 Lord of Virulence, extends his Contagion out to 9, puts the enemy unit in, now dropping the Lord of Contagion on top of them 6 inches away. So it's an easy switch to make there, which will just give you more playmaking ability and also take away limitations that may restrict you and feel like you have to bring it all in at once. So that's a nice little change we can make there. So the Plague Bearers, you've already figured out the tech. You sticky it. The Nurglings be an annoying screen for a turn. Die, go into space, come back down on home, screen it all out while it's stickied. Smart man. Figured that one out. The PBCs are an interesting one, because you can get a lot of points for these PBCs. But at the same time, like, oh man, PBCs need Contagion to do damage. That's my concern. And because you've not got anything that's going to be going out and getting... Like, you could obviously send Beast and Nurgle out, but you don't want to send them out too early to just die. But I also understand the logic. Anything that is a cheap, like, weak little thing, like you know, some scouts, some should still probably die to that. You can obviously shoot them at anything that has all is rot on there, which is really nice. That's a really weird one. I've not actually tried PBC. I really haven't seen PBC in Taliban, and I just do wonder how they do, because like Splashy Models is pretty nice. They're still pretty decent. Once the Great Unclean Ones and stuff drop in, it's very unlikely someone's going to be shooting your PBCs, and if they are, they're ignoring the Great Unclean Ones. That's fine. So you can run them with entropy cannons. You could even play them aggressively with spitters, so that you spend the first turn hiding, you find basically, you know, dropping mortars on your opponent's head, bang, 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 kill a couple chaff units, and then when the big drop comes, they start pushing aggressively with the spitters. That sounds pretty cool. That sounds pretty decent. I don't mind that. How good are the Plague Fly Riding Demons for sprinting? Actually pretty good, because they've got massive bases, they move quite fast, and you maximise the coherency. They can take up a lot of space and spread a lot of contagion. The problem is they're just weird. Like, they have pretty bad output. They can have pretty bad output, I'm not going to lie, but they enable really good output with a full rolls to wound. But the problem is, the only Nurgle Demon that like makes good on that is like the Great Unclean Ones or the Rotogus or something. But they just don't make the cut normally, the Plague Drones. But they're not a bad unit. It's just, again, one of those, they're kind of outshone by the fact like the best thing to do in Taliban is just bring the big fat boys. But you could probably do a really wide build, going hugely wide with tons of Nurgle Demons, sticky and stuff with Plague Bearers, out-OCing your opponent. Doesn't really work in the game at the moment because of how challenger cards and bullshit works like that, whereas high OC primary control lists don't work that well, because it doesn't matter if you've kept your opponent to 0 primary for its first 2 turns, because they'll just challenger card their ass back into the game, which is bullshit. But still. So yeah, I think you could actually... Yeah, I can see that. You could have a PBC playing with spitters near the middle, and again, when stuff starts kicking off, you could even run both of them. Again, my concern is, what if you're against knights and they get first turn? That can be a bit scary. PVCs there are really whiffy. That it helps when you make the Knights T9, that makes the entry mechanics a lot better. So just be careful about getting ran down. In those instances, I want to see more Poxwalkers. But again, you have got 6 Nurglings that can infiltrate, so they can move block for a turn. Poxwalker unit could move block for a turn. And then they have one actual turn of movement to get on top of you. And then you drop in everything and start smashing them back. So actually, it's not the worst thing in the world. So just bear that in mind. It's an interesting because PVCs are such an investment, and this has already got 2 very expensive models. Not very expensive, like 250 is nothing really. Oh, it's 2 squads of Death Shroud Terminators. Sorry, I wonder why this looks so small, this list. 2 squads of Death Shroud Terminators. Right, okay, so then that Lord of Rents isn't, so that's what was throwing me off. So you could run a 3-man Death Shroud Terminator squad solo. There's nothing wrong with that. You would not need a character, or you could cut that Death Shroud Terminator squad there, and get some extra to play wide on the field a bit more. You get another screen or something like that. It depends. It's because there's just a lot of points in these expensive units like these and the Grey and Clean ones. Like you have basically 250, 500. You got like 900 points you listed in 4 models, which feels really rough. The reason so it's actually a great shout. This list would do with like mower drones or spitter drones, something to play forward and aggressive. I'm trying to think. I would actually, in that instance, potentially go. What could you do there? You could drop the second Death Shroud squad. That's 140 points. Drop a Beast of Nurgle, which is 60 points, 65. That brings you up to 205. There's 2 melee drones right there. That's pretty good. Or 2 spitter drones. You've still got a Beast of Nurgle. You've still got more play there, and again, it's just more harassing play to buy time and sort of get stuff into contagion. I actually don't mind that. It's a pretty good shout. I do actually quite like that. A 2x1, that's fine. Yeah, 2x1's fine. So you can either go down to 1 Beast of Nurgle and then drop the 3 Death Shroud. Again, if you want to play the Death Shroud as 6 drops and they're doing well for you, that's fine. I'm a bit concerned having such a light presence on the board at the start. Whereas having the drones around to like play forward, just because again there's so many points in 4 models, it's like 900 points in 4 models. I want to see if the reason 3 PBCs works in Hammer is the non-negotiable. Fair enough, Dylan. If they are, you could drop the Tallyman. It depends if you need a Tallyman. I would drop a Death Shot on a Tallyman for 2 drones. I agree with that actually. The reason the PBCs work in Hammer is because everything else that goes in Hammer is the 90-point stupid cheap demon engines. So it doesn't matter the fact that those 3 models are super expensive, because everything else in the list is super cheap. Whereas in here, because we've got the 2 Rotogus Great and Clean ones as well, that takes away why the PVCs work in that attachment. So I'm fine with that, but then we need to focus on, if we're going to have those 4 models in the list, we need to make sure the rest of it is cheap units. So again, take out the Tallyman, take out the Death Shroud, you can put in things. Now, again, taking out Tallyman does make you weaker to the Knights matchup, because it means someone has to be a ward that's going to be on the front line. So consider that. If you're not worried about Knights, there's not many Knights around you, you can deal with that. If it's not, then, consider trying to make those changes elsewhere to try and get some extra. Now, even Pathetic Blight Halls would be fine as well. Just anything you need to bring cheap units to back up that 4 model package of 900 points, because we can't be having everything be super expensive, unfortunately. So hopefully that gives you some food for thought on this one. But I don't actually dislike it. Again, I think you can keep the PBCs. I think you can keep the Grey and Clean on the Rotogus. You just need to make things around that. Again, maybe just look at cutting one of these Death Shroud down and using the points with something else to just build the best list a little bit wider and a little bit cheaper in those areas, so we don't just have 4 really with the 2 Death Shroud characters in there, that's like 6 really expensive units at that point. Okay, hopefully that gives you some food for thought there, mate. Mr. Locustar, aka Mr. Dylan, which has been pretty damn cool. Right, that's going to be everything for tonight, though, guys. I will be back on Tuesday with the boys for a usual stream. Will has been at a Teams event this weekend, so we'll see how he got on. Dave is going to be trying out a Taliban list as well with his local club. I don't know if he's played before or after the stream. I'll find out, so we'll have that to talk about. And I've got to start making my own Taliban list, because you guys have voted for it for the next event for me, which is in the middle of August. So we get looking forward to that one, which then unfortunately does mean that for London GT, we're going to have to either take Hammer or Shamble Rot. And I don't know which one sounds more awful. One of them is very good, but makes you want to like blow my brains out from how boring it is. And the second one is Shamble Rot. So, God help. God help. We shall see. Quad Guo. I only have the 2. I got Guo and Rotagus, okay? Will borrow me though if I need more. So maybe we can go triple Guo. Don't know if I go quad. That's quite a meme. Go triple and Morty though. Maybe. Maybe. We'll see. We'll still see. But for now, everyone, thank you so much for tuning in, guys, tonight. I hope you guys have got some use out of this. And again, I will be back to do this again next Sunday, as we always try to be whenever I'm not at an event. We try and do a plague surgery. But for now, enjoy the rest of your evening, guys. I hope you have a good night or day, depending on what the time zone you are. Enjoy your hobby. Have some great games. Get those last little bits of fun in before we get nerfed, because it's probably coming at some point soon. If it's not, great. Enjoy it while we can. If it's coming, great also, because then people can stop bitching and complaining about us, and we can go to an actual like state where we can start working out all the new lists and what's going to be good. So either way, we're going to win from this. Don't you worry. So until next time. Take care, everybody. Stay rotten. Catch you on the next episode. Bye-bye. I forgot the button. There we go.